Hey, good evening, class. Mike Bennett here with a quick summary of what we read through this week and what we're studying, along with the question of the week for us to discuss this weekend. This week we started with needs and then also progressed to personality traits and how both of those apply to workplace motivation. Needs are the starting point of motivation, according to Latham, as cited according to Locke. And we looked at need hierarchy theory that comes from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We also need to keep in mind when looking at need hierarchy theory and needs in general as they apply to workplace motivation, that different people are capable of prioritizing their needs in different ways based on their values. That's according to Latham. We haven't quite looked at values yet. I believe that's upcoming for next week. But we do need to keep in mind that it's a cyclical relationship between needs and values in how they influence workplace motivation and how employees will perform their job accordingly with that motivation. We also looked at a couple of equations on the topic of needs that say agreeableness times social skill interaction could predict job performance ratings for other people giving ratings about an individual employee. Another finding was that extroversion times social competency could predict sales performance. Those were interesting in how they apply to need theory in accordance with motivation, because it again shows the fluidity of needs and how needs apply to motivation. Moving on towards personality traits, we know that personality traits for the most part are stable. They are less fluid over time than our needs and values. But one of the key things that I wanted to pull out of this chapter to discuss was core self-evaluations, which are bottom line conclusions, that's how they're defined here, that people hold about themselves in regard to their self-worth, so says Latham. They hold these bottom line conclusions in areas of self-esteem, locus of control, neuroticism or emotional stability being on the same continuum, and generalized self-efficacy. Now, with all of these traits and how they apply to motivation, we'll look at where the individual falls on the continuum, and that will tell us how they perceive themselves and also how they are effectively motivated. So keeping in mind a few of the big topics from this week, the question that I wanted to pose to you guys is on these core self-evaluations. Where do you find yourself? Pick out one specifically, not necessarily do all four, but where do you find yourself on one of these continuums, and how do you feel like that influences your work motivation in your work setting? Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend.